A little-known conservative, that who is now the head of the House, Republican congressman from Louisiana, new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, gained unanimous support from all Republicans present, ending weeks of chaos after the historic ouster of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Johnson is an ally of former President Donald Trump, who helped lead a congressional push to overturn the 2020 election results, and is now second in line to the presidency. Joining me now more with insight on this, Dr. Suzanne Chad, congressional expert and professor at North Central College. Doctor, thanks for coming back on the stream. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
He was not the first, he was not the second, he was not the third, he was maybe the fourth choice. He voted to overturn the election, downplayed the insurrection. A big part right now of what the right of right is now saying is no funding for Ukraine, which puts Ukraine at risk. If the Ukraine falls, and Poland could fall, so on and so forth. So there's 10 questions for you right there. Who's this guy and what's he going to do?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mike Johnson that's so interesting is that he really is similar to Jim Jordan in a lot of ways, except he is under the radar. And so the concerns about Jim Jordan with not acknowledging that President Biden won the election, with support for more conservative policies, social conservative policies, and pushing for those, that the only difference is that we've never heard of Mike Johnson, and he's done a lot of this under the radar. And so I think Republicans felt like, the Freedom Caucus especially felt like, we get the conservative, cost-cutting, make America great again type speaker that no one really knew would be that kind of speaker. So the Republicans, more mainstream establishment Republicans, can feel comfortable electing him because he doesn't feel as inflammatory. And they feel like now they have somebody that can potentially bring the party together in not a super controversial way. We'll see if that's what actually happens.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, and I haven't heard that analogy, so that's really insightful. It's like Jim Jordan without the baggage of Jim Jordan, and he's got the baggage of, Queen Mary too, in some cases, that go well beyond even his congressional work, back to wrestling coach days at Ohio State University. So a huge part of being speaker, though, is raising money. It's getting and keeping your majority. That's why you're speaker. Nancy Pelosi, remarkable at it. McCarthy was apparently good at it. Now there's this little-known congressman from Louisiana. How is he going to hold on to a slim majority? Because that is a big part of the speakership, right?
It is, and this is something we don't talk about enough, so I appreciate that question so much. One of the reasons that speakers get elected is because they can fundraise. And to your point, Nancy Pelosi was a prolific fundraiser. Kevin McCarthy strong as well. But because Mike Johnson doesn't have national recognition, he has some, he's raised some money for the party, but his job now is to not only push legislation through a House to pretty much get it stopped in the Senate, which is what McCarthy was doing anyway, but to your point, to try to keep or widen the majority in 2024. And part of that is to campaign for and raise for vulnerable Republicans. The question is going to be, because Democrats are going to do this now, is they are going to try to make Mike Johnson a focal point to get donations against him and against the members that he advocates for. We're going to see a battle of fundraising over this new speaker coming into the next cycle.
Okay. Do I have time for one more question, Control Room, or do we one more question? Okay, let's just talk about the effect of, it was fascinating to watch two sides polarly opposite, the right and left, coalesce and get behind the working man for these strikes. And workers have been doing really well lately, who have threatened to, UPS workers, airline pilots. The UAW apparently comes up with a potential big win here if they pass with at least one of the big three, if they come to agreement and pass their contract with Ford. Who wins if the UAW wins? Huge voting block, and of course for every one UAW jobs, there's 13 jobs connected to it. But UAW members are split in a very oddly way because they're part of a union, which is a very liberal thing, but many of them are very right of center politically. So who can you Can you explain it to me? Who wins with a UAW win?
Yeah. It's such a good question because, union membership used to be something that we asked regularly on surveys because it would tell us a lot about how someone was going to vote, and namely that they were going to vote for Democrats. But to your point, because union membership has declined and then rebounded over time, but support of unions has declined over time. And the ties to a union as your main source of political information for workers has also waned over time. And so right now, I think a lot of it is going to depend on whether or not Ford signs off on this, and then the other two companies do as well. And then how does President Biden talk about his ability to stand with the worker to get them this, this historic pay raise? So how President Biden works this is really going to tell us a lot, I think.
Okay, so you're really saying President Biden and the other side, it's how they eventually PR this thing in the end could sway and tell us a lot about what's going to happen in 2024. Dr. Suzanne Schott, congressional expert, professor at North Central College. We always appreciate your time making sense often of the senseless, and some would say what's been happening lately is senseless, so thank you for making sense of it for us. We appreciate you, Doctor.